It's us. We live on this little planet. And the simple fact is, there's a massive problems, and I'm not the only one saying that there is. We've seen all the protests and everything else. And the bottom line is, a lot of the protests deal with corporate greed and everything else, but there's a bigger issue. And the issue at stake is this, is that basically we're consuming more planets than what we have, and this is completely unsustainable in many regards. We're kind of like like a giant snake eating itself. And this is a mind symbol from 5,000 years ago. The problem, as I've pointed out, is the corporations. In many respects, think of them as the alcoholic. They are raping the planet, not us. We're not cutting down the trees. We're not pulling out the fish. We're not there. We're enabling them. We're saying, go ahead, do it, do it, do it, because we want sushi, we want this, we want this, we want that. We're addicted to the cheap goods and everything else, right? We're addicted to things like the iPhone and iPads and everything else. I have one. I use one all the time. But what is that iPad doing to the planet? And is this sustainable? And the answer is no, it's not. So you're probably wondering, you know, what's the solution? Well, the solution is we better stop, because if we don't stop, everything we know of and love is going to end. And it's coming at an exponential growth rate, right? It's coming faster and faster. What took the I can't think here. What took the glaciers 100 years to melt, they have accomplished in 5 years. So glaciers now are melting what took 100 years in 5 years. That's an exponential growth, all right? And ultimately, the problem is really, really simple. The problem is that corporations, which are a product of the Industrial Revolution, haven't changed. They still have the same mentality that we live in this planet where there's there's an infinite amount of exponential growth. I mean, the whole investment, the whole startup is about exponential growth. We want you to keep growing. An exponential growth is a continued growth rate, a 2% growth rate, a 5%, a 10%, a 12% every year. Okay, it's not sustainable in a finite planet, and that's the bottom line. So, what if let me if corporations were selfless and transparent and carbon negative and reinvested up to 80% to launch more corporations like themselves? The problem is the lesser stakeholders, the 1%, would never support that. Okay? And that's the problem. And you have to understand that every corporation that we know of started off with an idea. This idea ultimately is funded by the accredited investors, right? And you have to understand that most ideas, I call them pre-seed startups. They include ideas like hackathon, startup weekend. Those are technically not startups. They're pre-seed startups. There's no seed, there's no money behind them, right? But they're a startup. Ultimately, these funds are used to launch ideas, and every single company that we know of today ultimately had that. And to understand that, there's three stages. There's the seed stage. There's the seeded, that's when the VCs come in. The seed is when the accredited investors. And the pre-seed is when the friends and family come in, right? And I use the distinction that $100,000 invested by an accredited investor is the distinction between a seed and a pre-seed, or 100,000 in revenue. Because if you have revenue, you can reinvest the revenue in there. The problem is that a significant number of pre-seed startups, 99%, fail to become seed, right? So these guys fail to get to this level. Why? Because there's a 1% gatekeepers, and all of these are gatekeepers behind it. So ultimately, what do we need to do? Well, it's really simple. We have to remove the gatekeepers. Okay, we have to remove the gatekeepers, and basically, what I say, shatter the hourglass. And how do we do that? Well, I came up with the idea of the FoundUp. The FoundUp is for the 99%. There is no gatekeepers in the FoundUp. It's a simple 90-second video of what it is you want to do. And that video is placed on FoundUps app or foundups.com. And ultimately, the crowd does the rest. Anyone can do it. There's no business plans. There's nothing. And ultimately, if you want to think of, kind of the how the FoundUp is going to save the planet, well, number one is going to release the innovation needed. Um, it's going to launch carbon negative. It's going to launch selfless corporations, and not only that, these corporations are going to reinvest net profits to launch more such corporations. We don't get the money. The net profits do not go to me or go to FoundUps. It goes to launching more ideas. Understand that, okay? In essence, I'm replacing the accredited investor with selfless corporations that are in it for their own good. If you want to think of it this way, think of the FoundUp as kind of a snowball, and all these ideas, as money comes in, snowballs and snowballs and snowballs, and goes faster and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why I say within 10 years of launching, we'll replace the closed corporation. So if you want to think of it this way, a FoundUp is simply a founder using our SaaS framework. And OIF, the Open Innovation Framework, is what I call our SaaS system. And it does the validation. It's software doing the validation. It does the team building, the funding, the launching of any FoundUp on our platforms. If you want kind of more detail, think of it this way: an idea moves through a cycle, and as you participate in this cycle, right, as these ideas start off as a FoundUp, right, FoundUp is and they level up, a FoundUp level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The valuation of these ideas increase. As the valuation, depending on when you bought a stake in it, your stake increases, right? There's actual game mechanics in there, right, for you to participate, and there's opportunity to get basically cash out and get prizes and everything else if you guess right. Other people want to buy your stake and so on. So ultimately, what I'm seeking to do is launch this, and I need your help. I want you to participate in a crowdfunding campaign. I want you to pledge. I want you to say, give me a chance. Give me a chance to show you that I'm right. I know I'm right. I know I can do this. What I need is money to code out what I need to do. I need that freedom. Money is what drives business, and I don't have any, unfortunately. So help me crowdfund it. Help share this, and let's save the world. Because ultimately, you know what? We only live on one planet, right? We only live on one planet, and I love this planet, and I want it to be around for my kids and their kids and everything else. And unless we do something about it, it's not going to be there. Not like it is for us today, right? But we can change that. We can save it.